When I come back later today, guys, we are designing merch.
Yes! What's that?
Merch is the stuff that allows children to eat. That's the hook. Burnout. To burn. Consumption of a type of fuel as an energy source. Out. Depleted. Having no more fuel to burn as an energy source. Burnout. Taken in its most literal form, a fire will burn out when there is no longer any fuel to consume as energy. On a human level, burnout has both the exact same physical meaning and the exact same spiritual meaning. Spiritually speaking, a person will burn out when they no longer have any fuel to consume as energy. What spiritual fuel do people run out of when they get burnout? Now, generally speaking, when you burn energy on a human level, you're doing it for a reward. Financial, spiritual, goal-oriented rewards. That said, there are people who work extremely hard and who get paid through the nose who still suffer burnout, and that is because they are burning more in terms of energy than they are getting back in terms of spiritual reward. The financial reward is not necessarily the only type of fuel that people need in order to avoid burnout. And despite all the financial reward in the world, you can still get burnout because you simply do not have the spiritual energy to continue consuming in order to put out what you're putting out. There you have it.
Alright, and I want you to appreciate that between those two palm overs, a month and a half has gone by. It's winter now. And if you're new to the channel, this is Barney, this is Pudge. I am a litigator turned YouTuber, and talking about burnout, when I left the big firm life to start my own practice, we had our first kid. I was leaving the house at 7 in the morning, coming back at 7 at night. My daughter would be asleep when I left, she'd be asleep when I got back, and it wasn't the type of schedule that was sustainable long term or even short term. Time goes by just like that, and I was gonna wake up another month and a half later and not have seen my daughter grow up in waking time. And I remember the day, it was a Friday afternoon. I said, I just can't do this anymore. And at the time, I said I was gonna go into commercial photography at Dawson College, go back to school at the age of 30? Barney, get your butt out of the picture. I applied to Dawson College commercial photography, and I started doing a little bit of legal work, and it started rolling in, and then I got my small office on St. Catherine and Green Avenue. Within a year's time, I was building a successful boutique litigation firm. Now the decision to wind up my own commercial litigation practice, we should do that over coffee. Let's do the coffee now.
Okay, so let's look at it this way. When you work for a big law firm as a junior, you work under other lawyers, you do what the other lawyers say, you work on their files. It's difficult, if not impossible, to bring in your own clients just because of your hourly rate. You get a steady paycheck, but you have technically what is known as no professional freedom. Hi-yo. So I went out on my own. Out on your own, it's freedom. You're like the dog without the leash, except nobody feeds you twice a day, so you gotta go out and find your own food. It's that old fable, I forget which one it was. It wasn't an Aesop's fable, but it was an old story about the chained dog that is well-fed and comfortable, but has no hair under his collar, and the wild dog comes up to him and says, "What's wrong with your neck? Why don't you have any further?" And the dog says, "Oh, it's because I got my collar on." And the idea was that there are benefits to freedom, but there is a certain comfort that comes with the stability that goes along with getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. I start on my own. I build my legal practice from me in I think it was 600 square feet. It was a small office. My dad, okay, you're out of here. My dad joins when he leaves his big law firm because of what they call the forced retirement policy, but all big firms have it. You get to a certain age, you're out of the partnership, and you are what they call avocat conseil. You're there as a consultant attorney, but my father wanted to maintain an active practice. He leaves. We do this for 5 years together. I had been on my own for 8 years by the time I said I have to wind up the litigation side and just keep my corporate stuff. And why did I do that? Some might call it burnout. It might have been emotional burnout. The phone would ring, my stomach would get in knots. In knots for 2 reasons. The one being, I'm gonna have another stressful conversation with a lawyer where I'm gonna have to watch everything I say, where I'm gonna have to pay attention to everything they say so that we can each try and hold everything we say against the other in the context of a file where the sole pursuit is victory at all costs. The second reason was, it's like being a blackjack dealer in Vegas, where your primary interactions with other humans are not necessarily on the best of terms. Look, the reality of litigation is everybody you come across across as a client is going through something tremendously stressful, tremendously upsetting, and tremendously time-consuming and spiritually exhausting. And that rubs off onto the attorney, and if it doesn't, God bless the attorney that doesn't rub off on, but it rubbed off on me. You know, and it got to the point where the experience that I had in law, I said to myself, how do people actually have successful business relationships? I always sort of cynically say to myself, the lawyers who practice family law, how do they have any expectation to have a successful marriage when all that they see day in and day out is marriage when it falls apart? And so the phone would ring, my stomach would get in knots. I didn't want to hear the stories. I didn't want to hear the drama. I couldn't take the drama anymore. And I said, look, I'm going to give up this freedom that I've created for myself, which was my own practice. I'm going to give up this freedom, and I'm going to go for this spiritual freedom, content creation, which doesn't pay very well. Which brings us to the present day and a video that I started a month and a half ago on burnout. Don't worry, I'm not announcing that I have YouTube burnout. There's no but to that. But it is the year of the YouTube burnout, where YouTubers are burning out. They are getting suffocated by the lifestyle that is YouTube, the stress that goes into daily content creation, having to worry about your next big hit, having to worry about how to outdo your last video, outdo your competitors, gain more subscribers. And this goes back to a video I did a week and a half ago, the harsh reality of being a YouTuber. This is nothing unique to YouTube. When you're a lawyer, if you're not constantly growing your practice, you're shrinking. That's the reality, that's the stress of it every day. If you are not making a new client, you are losing money. If you're not growing as a lawyer and a firm, you're shrinking. It's the constant stress that you need to grow in order to even stay stable. And in YouTube, it's the same thing. And this is why people get burnt out in YouTube, is that there's a constant need for growth. There's a constant stress, and that brings with it the suffocating lifestyle that goes into daily or even regular content creation. The other aspect of that is for YouTubers like myself who do their own editing, that's hours a day of time where you are in front of your computer just tediously editing together videos, syncing music, splicing. It's stress, and it's stress that has led to a lot of YouTubers needing to take a break from the platform. I will never get burnt out of YouTube except financially, because I could sit here and create every day for the rest of my life if I could make a living doing it. And like I said in my previous video, it gets a little discouraging when you put in a lot of time and effort into something and it doesn't get traction or it doesn't get viewership, and it sort of feels like you're creating for a very small crowd. My goal is to grow that crowd and to share my creations with the world, which brings me to where I'm going with this entire video. Don't be shocked, alarmed, or nervous if you see a different upload schedule. I might be reducing videos to every other day with a live stream once a week, not because of burnout, just because of, instead of working hard, I'm going to try to work smart. And I have a feeling that the volume of content that I've been putting out might be diluting the content that I'm putting out, if you know what I mean. Like inflation. Printing money. Is that deflation or inflation? Inflation. Printing money. If you keep printing money, the money ceases to have the same value that did when it was in more scarce demand. I don't want to be in scarce demand, but I don't want to flood all of you with too much content such that it ceases to have any meaning or value or importance, or it becomes tedious to you to get the notification. By the way, did I mention like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell? Please do it. It's one thing to be subscribed, but if you don't know when I put out a video because you haven't hit the notification bell, well, now you know. Okay, jokes aside, I'm gonna get back to editing this video. If you notice a slightly different schedule, or if I skip a day, don't be nervous, I'm not going anywhere. I might just slow down the content creation just so that I can give my videos a chance to gain some traction, and so that I don't overwhelm all of you subscribers. I don't want to overwhelm you, I want to entertain you, educate you, incite you. Share my insight, share my experience with the world, share my life experience with all of you. That is all. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and peace out. Oh, no, it's not yet. Oh gosh, it's not over yet. I forgot the most important thing. Stay up, camera. I'm gonna stand up. It's the last thing you do. Stand up, camera. Oh my gosh, is this a joke? Okay, before it falls down again. I've been making merch. If you could, it would help me to continue doing what I'm doing. If you can, buy some merch. I have made these mugs, some shirts. I would appreciate every ounce of support. I haven't decided to go back on my Patreon decision yet. I'm not sure I can do it, but I'm thinking about it. And with any luck, I will be on the YouTube membership program where you can subscribe to the channel and thereby support my my horrible addiction to content creation. Thank you. My daughter made this. It's beautiful. It's an owl. Or a leopard. It might be a leopard. Or a leopard owl. Okay. Peace.